can go. So we are moving with the Honorable just away from the speakers. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, right now I'm with the declared Member of Parliament for Nakawa East, who is Council Frederick Ruindi. He is also the former Attorney General of Uganda. I will be speaking to him. Honorable, I think this place is okay. In the tent. So I am lucky that I have been among the first people to move around with the Honorable, who is splashing the NRM symbol, the NRM sign. Everyone is trying to congratulate him. Yeah. So, Kororo Independence Ceremonial Grounds, the designated place for the Kampala District Tally Center. So, Honorable, we can face this way. Then I will take this, my left. So, Honorable, first, I have already congratulated you. Yes. But if I can see, you have won with 18,535 votes, which is... so, what does this mean to you? You're speaking to the viewers of UBC TV.
It's a very big achievement, not only for myself and my family, but also for Nakawa East constituency and for Uganda as a whole. Because, as I have been saying, I am in politics out of conviction. I am not in politics out of convenience. 10 years down the road, I have not been in parliament. 10 years down the road, I have not been earning a salary from government. So, I kept serving the people. Because me, I lost the money which I used to get in parliament. I lost an office. But I kept the job of serving the people. People have been coming to me at my office on Parliament Avenue, Ruhindi and company advocates. These days they call it Ruhindi and Nakawa company advocates. I kept serving my people. People come there of all walks of life, from all walks of life. And I give them pro bono services, free of charge. You see, at home in Bugorobi, Block 7B8, when they come, I serve them. There are those fellows who lack something useful to say, and I only serve them with a cup of tea. Yes, when a person visits you at home, don't you share a cup of tea with him or her? But beyond that, we do so many things to serve the people. Otherwise, I would not have gotten this position 10 years down the road, which means I kept serving the people. So the people came and said, since for 10 years you have not had an office, since for 10 years you have not been earning a salary from Parliament, and you kept serving us well, in your means, let us take you back to that office so that you can serve us better.
So, you left 10 years ago, and now, what are some of those things that your people have been missing in the constituency?
Many things. Actually, as a matter of fact, go there, those people will tell you that ever since Ruhindi left, nothing new has come in the constituency. During my time, we actually put there so many things. We built infrastructure. We are now building a strategic road, the Port Bell Road. Certainly that is President Museveni's vision, because when you reach Port Bell, you are connected by sea to Tanzania, to Kenya, and some other parts of our globe, or East African region. So, that road is a strategic road. And you can see it's going to be a beautiful road. And I want to tell you that even the agreements on which it is being constructed, I'm the one who signed them when I was still Attorney General. You understand? Schools, actually we have only one school, USC school in Nakawa East, that is Ruzera SS. And I want to tell you, there is land which I saved from being grabbed by thieves, which is part of Chiswa Primary School by the roadside. Let's go back to Parliament. We are now going back to Parliament. I will ensure that on that land, I influence other players of government to ensure that there is another USC school in that constituency, on that land. Let me finish, my brother.
Okay.
We would have started with Mutungo parish, which is the most densely populated parish in the whole country, because it has 51,000 registered voters. But of course, let's start with a place where there is already earmarked land. Yes, and so many other things, you know, yes.
I want to get back to your statement where I say that 10 years there has been nothing new.
Nothing.
But remember, in the last 10 years you're talking about, the NRM has been implementing the manifesto. So are you trying to say that the people of Nakawa East have not been defeated from the manifesto?
Who would lobby for it? They go instead fight it. Take an example of PDM. Haven't you been hearing some of these opposition people fighting PDM? Haven't you? Just answer me. Yes or no? PDM ya kugumaza abantu. Why aren't they being gumazed by the salaries they get from parliament? Okay? Now these people are getting a small amount of money to improve their livelihoods, and people are fighting it. You get? So, when you say, but NRM has, with whom would it implement services if the voices which would bring those services are not in those respective places?
Honorable, why is it that the country has turned the word lobbying as a prerequisite of a member of parliament? Because there are specific duties the member of parliament is supposed to do. So when a member of parliament does not lobby, then he's not working for the constituency. What is this narrative?
No, you get it wrong. There are four principal roles of a member of parliament. One is legislative, to make laws, okay? The other one is representation for your people in your area. That's where lobbying comes in. Lobbying means that you go there to influence other people, not undue influence, but to alert them that there is a challenge in this particular area which needs to be sorted out. You understand? That is representation, the representation role. Law-making role, representation role, oversight role, to ensure that what is being earmarked to do a particular assignment actually does it. That is oversight. And then the other one is appropriation, okay? Because Parliament is principally charged with the duty to appropriate the funds for the services of the people. So when you say that lobbying is not one of the roles for a member of Parliament, no, you are wrong. It is. That is the representation role.
Okay. Finally, ahead of your celebrations, you come to this position at a time when your major contender is in prison, and you're going to serve a section of people who are maybe partly supporters of your supporters and also supporters of the person in prison. So how are you going to bring cohesion in the constituency?
Let me reach there. I will of course be interacting with the relevant offices. Then I will fully the context in which he was arrested and in what context we can actually push that matter forward. You know, I had a man I served with in politics in Nakawa, Mzee Vidansai. He used these people who would ask him about certain things he didn't understand. He would say, but then Zendinge chenyanja, I'm like a fish. Mumbuze vyo mazi of the water where I stay, principally, not on the Rukaru, on the land itself, on the dry land. So why don't I have been given an opportunity by the people, okay? Let me go to Parliament, then you come and ask me, what have you done about this matter and how do we go about it?
Honorable, 10 years is a bit long because the rules of the game normally change. The dynamics of that the ideas you had for your people that time still work for them.
That's the problem. That's what affects us. And I can see your mindset. Because your mindset seems to be fixed on tactics, not mission, not strategy. You see, values, human values, don't change. A human being will always want to eat. A human being needs to be educated. A human being, when he or she falls sick, needs help, medical help. Those are values. How do we help our people on not on convenience, not on expedience or personal greed? Because what is actually killing us is personal greed and selfishness. And we must change. The sooner, the better, to fight against greed and selfishness.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Frederick Ruhindi. That has been Honorable Frederick Ruhindi, who says that human values do not change. Just to remind you, Honorable Frederick Ruhindi has been declared the winner of Nakawa East constituency. He is the third person who has been declared in this tallying center of Kampala district since we camped here on Thursday night. Ruhindi won with 18,535 votes. Then his major contender from the National Unity Platform, who is currently in jail, Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro, garnered 15,186 votes. The DF candidate garnered 3,020 votes. I will be leaving here because the returning officer of Kampala, Muhasia Rashid, I have already heard him calling upon other players that is matching the West constituency, and I think very soon from now he will be declaring the winner. But just to remind you that this morning at around 4 a.m. Other candidates, including Abubakar Kawalia of Rubaga North, and then Nasoro Eugen, these are both candidates from the National Unity Platform. They were declared winners in the parliamentary seats in Kampala. So this implies that the four candidates who have been declared so far in Kampala, the NRM and the National Unity Platform are sharing the results, because INUP has so far secured 2 slots, and then the NRM party has also secured 2 slots, that is Frederick Ruhindi and HAJJAT MINSA KABANDA. So Bekar Kawalia won with around 30,589 votes, then followed by Katongole Singh, who is also a long-time veteran politician, who garnered 9,526 votes. Mariam Lutale garnered 1,221, and total number of votes were 43,290 in that constituency of Rubaga North. But I want to bring my concern to the number of invalid votes, because when you look at the number of invalid votes in Rubaga North and Rubaga South, they tally to almost 4,000. So this really puts a lot of question to civic education, because I've been witnessing the Electoral Commission trying tooth and nail to ensure that the public is educated on how to vote. So I don't know whether it is a mindset or it is anger. So it is something that needs to really be questioned, because in Rubaga North, the total number of invalid votes were 1,829, and in Rubaga South, where Nasolo won, the total number.
The national anthem, please. While standing, I would like to invite Sheikh Ali Waiswa, the Deputy Mufti of Uganda and member of board of the Interreligious Council of Uganda, to come up front here and lead us in a prayer to commit today in the hands and guidance of the Almighty. Sheikh Ali Waiswa, the Deputy Mufti and member of the board of the Interreligious Council of Uganda. You're welcome, sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge in the Almighty Allah from the cursed devil. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of the Almighty Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful. The reading from the Holy Quran, the opening chapter of the Quran, which the Prophet taught us is the best prayer. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, sovereign of the day of recompense. It is you we worship, and you we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those upon you have bestowed favors, not of those have evoked your anger or those who are astray. Almighty God of all nations, the source of human family, we give you thanks, Lord, for the freedom we exercise and the blessings of democracy we enjoy. We pray for the divine guidance to preserve and promote unity in diversity in our beloved nation. Guide our leaders and the citizens to act with wisdom, justice, and compassion. May the prevailing peace continue always and always. Give healing to the affected. Give healing to the affected and enable us to achieve the common good as a society in the period as we transit and to transit to a new government. Almighty God, we pray that the new officials to begin service serve with dignity, tranquility, and honesty, regardless of the election outcomes, and for affected by changes to find grace, and for all the citizens to foster love, care for one another in the evolving political landscape. In your mighty name we pray.
You may take your seats. Thank you very much, Sheikh Ali Waiswa, for committing today in the hands of the Almighty. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Justice Byabakama Mugen Simon, the deputy chairperson, HAJJAT Aisha Rubega, Commissioner Stephen Tashovia, Commissioner Peter Emomut, Commissioner Caroline Binamario, Commissioner Dr. Simba Kayunga Sali, Commissioner Anthony Okero, Mr. Richard Kamushababo, the acting secretary, agents of presidential candidates here, representatives of political parties, heads of observer missions that are present, both local and international, members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of civil society organizations, and those of government agencies, heads of clergy, media, members of staff of the Electoral Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the EC grounds, Electoral Commission grounds here in Reza, which is the venue of the National Tally Center for presidential elections of 2026. I take this opportunity now to invite the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Justice Byabakama Mugenyi Simon, to constitute us and lead us. Thank you very much, Lord Chair.
Thank you very much, Julius. Our distinguished guests in your respective capacities, good morning and welcome to the National Tally Center once again, where the Commission has the pleasure to update you and the fellow countrymen who are watching us on the various TV mediums. Today or this morning, would like to release further provisional results of the presidential elections as we stand at this hour. The total number of registered voters remain 21,649,067. The total number of polling stations are 50,739. As we talk now, the total number of police stations from which we have obtained the results are 47,499, representing 93.61% of the total number of polling stations across the country. The performance per candidate is as follows. Bulira Frank Kabinga, 44,328, representing 0.42% of the valid votes cast for the candidates. Kasvante Robert, 32,224, representing 0.30% of the valid votes cast. Kyagulanyi Sentam Robert, 2,601,150. Mabirizi Joseph, 22,274, representing 0.21%. Sorry, in the case of Kyagulanyi, I beg your pardon, that tally represents 24.46%. 24.46% for Kyagulanyi, who has 2,601,150. Mugisha Gregory Muntu Oyera, 57,019, that is 57,019, representing 0.454 of the valid votes cast. Munyagwa Mubarak Serunga, 30,509 votes, representing 0.29% of the valid votes cast. Nandalama Fabi James Nathan, 202,802, representing 1.91% of the valid votes cast for the candidates. Yoweri Haburwa Kaguta Museveni, 7,643,778 votes, representing 71.88% of the valid votes cast. The valid votes in total for all the candidates are 10,634,084. Invalid votes 264,015, 264,015, representing 2.42% of the total votes cast. The total votes altogether, 10,898,099, representing 50.34% of registered voters. Spoiled votes, 38,223. This is the current update, and as we have been doing, I'm going to ask our technical people to relay the breakdown of the summary I've been reading on our screens for the benefit of our participants, so that you analyze and appreciate where the results I've been reading have been tabulated from or have come from. I also wish to inform our distinguished guests that the next update will be at 2 p.m. The next update or release of the provisional results or results will be at 2 p.m. I thank you. You're welcome. Keep around, look at the statistics, analyze them, and you can have a cup of coffee if you want. Thank you so much.
updates on how and when they do come in. Of course, may be waiting for the last update. That is at about 2 p.m. as he has mentioned, given the fact that we have so far covered 47,499 polling stations, making a total of 93.61% of the 50,739 polling stations. So for those who are watching us live, you can just get a pen on your table, get a paper, do some calculation. 50,739, when you do subtract about 47,499, you realize that we have less than 10,000 polling stations left to probably get us the winner. Who will take it away? That is something we are yet to find out when the final verdict does come out from the chairperson himself and the entire commission. Of course, the race being between the NRM candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and the NUP candidate, that is Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, who has about 2,601,150, making a total of 24.46%, and the candidate of NRM Yoweri Kaguta Museveni having about 7,643,778, making it 71.88. Now, for those who can still get a calculator, it is very important for you to as well do your own chemistry in there and mathematics to find out who will take it away. But still, that is something we cannot confirm yet till when the justice himself, Abiabakama, comes back with the entire commission to give us the last update. And of course, the valid votes gotten so far are 10,634,084. Those are the valid votes, and the invalid being in there with 264,025. The question is, if we do have a number of registered voters being 21.6 million voters, where are the rest? Where did we have the low voter turn-up? These are things that Ugandans must be asking themselves, but there are very many reasons that Ugandans need to know, not forgetting that yesterday, but one and yesterday, those were public holidays. So you might think that very many Ugandans decided to probably stay in the comfort of their homes as they wait to see what will happen. But those who took it as a constitutional mandate to get out and vote did the right thing. Remember, every vote counts now. Whoever member of parliament, whoever president-elect will be announced by the Electoral Commission, those are people that Ugandans will have to look up to for the next 5 years. A number of manifestos have been read out and given out to the public. If you made the wrong choice, do not blame anybody, because you had the right to choose the right candidate to go and represent you either in parliament, but also when it comes to that heavy seat of the president-elect. But we wait to see. Right now, we still have a number of observers. We do have agents from the different political parties, the CPP, NPP, NUP, NRM, and FDC, and also ANT. All those are highly and well represented here at the National Tally Center, where we do expect the final results to be given at about 2 p.m. Kakati Omulungi alaba UBC Nesta TV njagala okutegeeza nti omulamuzi Simon Byabakama Mugenyi amaze okubanga ate atubuulira byebadde bakafunawo ebitali byankomeredde buddakiika nga 5 emabega. Atubuulidde nti omukulu bakafuna obululu okuva mu polling station oba ebifo ebironderwamu 4,479 nga bikola ebitundu 9 n'obutundu 16 ku buli 100. Ate bwe tugenda ku mukulu Bulira Frank asobodde okubanga afuna obululu mu budde buno 4,328 nga bwe butundu 42. Kasibanto Robert akafuna obululu 3 mu 2024. Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu yakafuna obululu obukadde 2,600 mu 1,000. mu 5 ng'akola ebitundu 24 n'obutundu 46 ku buli 100 ate omukulu Mabirizi Joseph n'aba nga yakafuna emitwalo 2,274 obululu nga yakafunawo ebitundu awo akatundutundu kamu ku buli 100 ate Gwegwere Mugisha Muntu wa Ant n'aba nga yakafuna emitwalo 5 mu 719 n'aba nga naye yakafuna obutundutundu 5 mbona ku buli 100 Munyagwa yakafuna obululu emitwalo 3 mu 509 n'aba nga yakafuna obutundutundu 229 ate omukulu Amafaabi n'aba nga naye yakafuna obululu emitwalo 2,208 mu bubiri nga ke katundu kamu n'obutundu 9 mu kamu ku buli 100 ate ye candidate owa NRM Yoweri Kaguta Museveni n'aba nga wetwogera ayingidde obululu emitwalo obukadde 7 mu emitwalo 64 mu 1378 nga ebitundu 7 mu kimu n'obutundu 88 ku buli 100 ndine honorable minister w'abavubuka omukulu honorable Balaam Barugahare alina ensonga gy'ategeezezza twagatuulire kiki kyagamba okusinziira ku ebyo ebisomeddwa honorable.
Ndi mpulira ennaku kubanga twakola nnyo nga manyi tujja kufuna obululu milioni 13 tubadde wona bwe tutambula nga tugamba 13 million votes naye kyembi tukyali tetunaweza milioni 8 sensuubira nti oba electoral commission erina obululu bwaffe bwetabala kisimanyi
naye omukulu agambye akoma ku 8
anti kati nze mbadde nsuubira nti bayinaawo twandibadde tuli kubanga tuli mu 94% okusinziira byayakalangirira so tusigazayo ebitundu 6 naye nina okunyolwa nti performance yaffe eri below average tetunafuna bululu bwe twali twagala twali tunoonya obululu emiliyoni 13 oba miliyoni 11 nene miliyoni 10 tetunaziweza so nkyensuubira nti candidate waffe munyiivu alaba tetuna kye twakoze so nsaba candidate President Museveni otusonyiwe obutakufunira bululu bungi kubanga wadde oyagala miliyoni 12 kusinzira amaanyi ge wateekamu naffe ge twateekamu
ne vota tanawo tono ebondoozo ogiraba okusinzira ku bukadde 21 n'obutundutundu obugwamu awo n'abaakafunibwawo obudde buno
nti abalonzi tebamanyi mugaso gw'okuba akalulu kubanga projection ya NRM yali enoonya obukadde 13 naye kati tulina obukadde 7 n'emitwalo 6 nsuubira tetunaweza na miliyoni 8 ate tusigaza 4% sekitegeeza tuyinza obutaweza obukadde 8 so tukoze bubi tetukoze bulungi tukoze bubi nnyo era candidate kyemanyi munyiivu naye kati nga omukuba campaign be nsaba candidate atusonyiwe abantu batukoze bubi kubanga tebazze nga twabadde tubasuubira twabadde tusuubira obululu mungi naye njagala kuyozayoza abo abawangudde n'okugumya abo be batanalangirira nti tulina obudde paka ssaawa 11 okulangirira ebivudde mu kulonda mu bitundu by'eggwanga byonna akakiiko k'ebyokulonda kusinziira ku mateeka bakawa ssaawa 48 so nsaba bannayuganda buli omu abeere mu maka ge ekirangiro tusigazaayo nnya kati Bobi Wine ayinza otusingira mu 4% mu 4%
kyetulinza okulaba honorable
tasobola tusinga mu 4% kati kyogamba 4% of polling station zisobola omukolera obukadde obusatu n'atujjayo waggulu kuba olaba ali mu 25 tuli mu 7
ensonga za kibalo honorable anything can happen
tewali kibalo kya 4% polling station za 4% ezisobola okumuleetera otuwangula so me what I think wetubanga tugudde tujja kugwa mu 69 etunze projection insobola nga bwe mbadde mbagamba okuva 68 to 70 is not bad but candidate was expecting 80%. Yeah, it is really unfortunate. We apologize, Your Excellency, Mr. President, for not scoring and not getting enough votes as we had promised. Because I knew we would get you about 13 million, not 12 million votes, or 11 million votes, but we are yet to make 10 million. So we apologize to Your Excellency for not delivering the 10 million we promised. And we are yet to make 8 million, but at least the person following us is yet to clock 3 million. Has he clocked 3 million?
Thank you so much, Honorable.
Doubled the person following
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. He does allege that as they do their own counting, probably he has, or they think they are supposed to get to a certain percentage, but that is in their own books. But of course, for us here, we are following the information that has been and is still to be given by the Electoral Commission, Chairperson Justice Simon Mungiyokama together with the entire commission. So apparently we shall be getting back to the broadcast house for further proceedings, but of course keeping a tab right here to see how things will be unfolding at a later time. I'm going to be interviewing one of the agents here from a given political party. He will be introducing himself. He will be telling us what he thinks, what has he observed so far, what are his fears, that is if he has any. HAJJAT, how are you, your names, and from which political party?
Yeah, my name is Agaba Nelson from the Alliance for National Transformation Party, the official agent of candidate Mugisha Gregory Muntu Oyera. We have just received the update from the Electoral Commission, and of course, even as of yesterday, it has been candidate Museveni in the lead. But the most concern is not about what they read here. We need to look at the process to which they come up, because an election is a process. So I can start making analysis from the day of polling. And when you look at prior, before the polling day, Electoral Commission for months and days, they had given us confidence, reassurance of how they had got a medication for any possible vote rigging by introducing the BVVK machines that would read our fingerprints, that would read our faces or iris.
But EC,
that wasn't followed.
But EC said that shouldn't be an issue as long as you have the voter allocation slip, you appear on the National Voter Register, you have a right, you have a national ID, you can go ahead and vote.
Yeah, but in the first place, the assurance they gave us before when they introduced the BVVK machines, that shows that they had diagnosed the problem. They were not sugarcoating a cake. There was a problem that they were trying to address. So the question is, was that problem addressed? That's very key. So two, when you give assurance to the country that you are going to do ABCD as the commission, even on the last observation briefing by the Electoral Commission, they gave that assurance. And the following morning, there are different orders, machines are not working, that's taxpayers' money in the first place, but also Electoral Commission and voting is about confidence to the citizens. So when the confidence hangs in balance, then many questions arise.
So do you have voters who were refused to vote simply because the machines were not working? Is that your issue?
I think majorly it's not about that, because people voted. They came and voted. But the question is, why? Because we need to be critical here as the nation. The number one thing, if you go to the hospital and you diagnose malaria and you're suffering from malaria and they say we have got a new cure which is going to be applied strictly to cure any possible illness in terms of the malaria. So the question is, when the time for medication comes and it is not given and they say go back to the old dose that you had, questions arise. So there is that issue of especially with the polling, which gives the outcome of the results we have.
So you're not you don't agree with what has been given out by the EC, because I'm saying your candidate Mugisha Muntu has about 57,019 votes so far that has been gathered, making it a 0.54%. What is your next move?
Yeah, one, we are getting the results and also further gathering evidence, and at an appropriate time we will, after analyzing the evidence that we will have on table, we'll give a public briefing on the course of action of what possible has to be made. You cannot make a course of action without making proper analysis. We are a party that is designed on values, that is designed on principles that have to give confidence to the nation. And so we cannot just make you first cross the bridge and then take a decision.
My last question, the Electoral Commission did put the laptops here for you as agents for the given political parties. You have looked into the system, into the graphs and the graphics in there. As and when votes are being input there, do you agree with what is in the system?
Fast forward, I raised an issue yesterday evening. That portal, one, is not user-friendly. Number two, there are some polling stations, polling stations that are given in summary, where my president votes from, when you check that portal, you will not find the breakdown of the Ruashamiri Town Council as other polling stations. For example, if it is Ruashamiri Town Council, how many polling stations are there? And the breakdown of the voting pattern on each and every polling station. Here it is not shown. I raised this yesterday with the Electoral Commission. They advised me to reach the technical head of the technical team, which I did, but by this morning it has not been rectified. So that shows if I have discovered one, how about if I was given more time to critically analyze that system?
Okay. Thank you so
much. Which really creates some little of, major, dissatisfaction of how that portal works. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you do still hear allegations that are being said out by some of these agencies is representing the Alliance for National Transformation. This could be an indicator that it is not yet over, because if agents still have issues, where does this lie? How will this unfold? How will this end? These are things that we shall be understanding at a later time as we still wait for the final verdict at about 2 p.m. But if you've been following some of these proceedings, the EC chairperson did say that if anyone has any issue, the courts of law are open. So the only way anyone can really go and try to testify or bring out any issue, they are ready to go and tussle it out with the courts of law. That is in case they do have all the evidence that they need to ensure that they make their points valid. But that is something we cannot rule out. So we wait to see. For now, I will be returning back to the broadcast house for further programming.
Thank you very much, Jethro Kasaije, for giving us that update on the sixth, what you would indeed count as the sixth provisional results from the Electoral Commission. And indeed, just to reiterate, in case you're just joining in and you have missed the numbers as being read by the EC chairperson, Justice Simon Byabakama, total number of registered votes is 21,649,067, and the total number of polling stations considered to have elected 50,739. Results so far from this sixth provision: 47,499 polling stations, accounting for 93.61% of the total polling stations. And looking at the candidates' performance thus far, Bulira Frank, who has so far 44,328 votes, that is getting to a percentage of 0.42% of the valid votes. Robert Kasibante, who has 32,224 votes, accounting for 0.30%. Robert Chagulanyi has 2,601,150 votes, accounting for 24.46%, and Mabirizi has 22,274 votes, that is to 0.21%. General candidate Muntu has 57,019 votes, accounting for 0.54%, and candidate Munyagwa has 30,509 votes, accounting for 0.29%. Candidate Nandala Mafabi has 202,802 votes, accounting for 1.9% of the votes. And candidate Museveni so far in the lead with 7,643,778 votes, accounting for 71.88%. Valid votes there so far 10,634,084, and invalid votes are 264,015, accounting for 2.42%. Total votes altogether so far are 10,898,099 votes, accounting for 50.34%, and spoiled votes so far account for 38,223 votes thereon. That is as the standings from the sixth provisional results by the Electoral Commission. My name is Julie F. Nantava. I am with Joan Murunji, and it's at this point that I want to engage you, Joan, as we look at what you think of the numbers, what you think of the rest compared to the fifth provisional results as of yesterday. We'll definitely be doing comparisons. Keep in mind that right now, as we speak, 47,499 polling stations have so far garnered results as being read, and we are left with about 3,240 polling stations.
Okay, that is about 6.39% of the remaining polling stations. Of course, first I want to commend the Electoral Commission.
Right.
It has been a bit swift in telling these results. And of course, numbers keep changing, and hopes and stakes are high. And of course, a lot is being expected, as well as, yes, tempers are flaring up, and of course, so many mixed emotions that are going on within the candidates' minds, and of course, the voters' minds. But of course, the Electoral Commission is always here to guide us through and give us the provisional results. I'm seeing the candidate who is in the lead, with over 71.88%.
Indeed. Joan will definitely get back to you, but right on standby is Timothy Nyangweso, who is also at the National Tallying Center. So let's hear from him.
Closing and counting.
Welcome to this edition of the results that are coming in provisionally. We have just finished almost the final session. Lastly but not least, we'll have one more session at 2 p.m. that will be giving us exactly what is happening. But I'm joined by Benjamin Katana, the Treasury General of the National Unity Platform. He's with me this morning. Benjamin, how are you?
Well, I'm not fine.
What is it exactly?
Especially with what has been happening. Clearly, I want first of all to put the record straight that what is being announced and relayed here is not a reflection of the will of the people of Uganda as expressed through the voting that transpired the other day. We started here by the Electoral Commission giving figures and without showing us where they were coming from. When we challenged them, they started giving a breakdown. When we compared with the declaration forms that we have so far, because on account of the internet breakdown blackout, we don't have all of them. But the ones we have, clearly there is a discrepancy between what they are presenting and what obtained at the polling station, clearly indicating that these figures were preconceived even before people went to the votes, the fabrication, and of course the NRM must have been embarrassed that after all they have taken us through, the people went ahead and defied their orders and voted for our candidate. That's why they have resorted now to fabricating results. But we are very confident that the people of Uganda heard the message, because throughout the campaign, the president has encouraged the people of Uganda that under Article 29 of the Constitution, they have a right to express themselves peacefully and lawfully and reject any attempt to subvert their will. And I believe that they will exercise that right and challenge the illegitimate and unlawful actions of the Electoral Commission.
What's the state of the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu right now?
Well, we may not be able to speak with certainty about what the situation is in now, because 2 days ago, the army and police besieged his home, denied us access, denied the media access. Last night, we received a call from the members of the household that the security forces were breaking into the house. After that, their numbers went off. Nobody has been allowed to access the home, so we don't know if he's hurt. We don't know if he's in jail. We don't know if he has been taken away. We have seen a statement from police this morning denying, but we want to challenge the media to ask them why they cannot allow them to access the residence and speak to him and establish the state in which he is. But because they know they are up to mischief, they want to do it in darkness. They know they switched off internet, they have denied him access to media, they have denied media access to his home, they have denied the leadership of the party access to his home, and whatever they are doing is clearly outside the law, because his home is not a gazetted detention facility. He has not committed any crime. The only crime he has committed maybe is running against Museveni. But we challenge them, if they are speaking the truth, to allow the members of public the leadership of the party, the media, to access his home and establish the facts as they obtain.
Finally, you've made very strong assertions. What is the way forward for the National Unity Platform plus your presidential candidate?
This is not a matter of National Unity Platform. It's a matter of the citizens of Uganda. It is their right to choose leaders. Now, if you take away their right, they have very many options under the laws of Uganda, and particularly we have been encouraging them to take advantage of the provisions of Article 29 of the Constitution to lawfully and peacefully protest against any attempts by the Electoral Commission to subvert their will. And we believe that they will exercise that right to assert their wishes on how they want to be governed.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. We appreciate your time this morning. You have heard it from the National Unity Platform, the Treasury General himself, Benjamin Katana, informing us of what has happened, that the DR forms they have vis-a-vis the results they are seeing, there is something that is differing between the two, but also he has gone ahead to make assertions on what is happening with Honorable Robert Sentamu Chagulanyi, and he says as late as last night, his house was broken into, and that's the last communication. The police has also made a statement claiming they do not know anything about it. That is developing story that we need to keep our eye on to see exactly what has happened. But from us to you, we'll keep you bringing the updates to you, but also interviewing more people. We hand you over to the broadcast house.
Thank you very much, Timothy Nyangwe, so for that particular conversation. And indeed, let's start from right there, Joan. Benjamin Katana, who's representing NUP at the National Tally Center, shares his observations, says that results at the Tally Center do not match what is on ground, and goes ahead to say and claim that the NRM is actually fabricating these results, the results that the EC chairperson is releasing are fabricated by the NRM, and says that they are not exactly what is on ground by their own mathematics. But of course, before we even get into the uncertainty of their presidential candidate, that is the new presidential candidate, perhaps let me hear what your perspective is on the claims made.
That provides spending limits, an effective enforcement mechanism to curb.
As you can see, it's a press conference at Sky's Hotel Naguru. That is for the election observers. Let's take a listen and we'll be back.
Governing the utilization of technology in elections. C. Review the Constitution and election laws to strengthen the independence of the Electoral Commission by reconsidering the process for appointment of the members. To the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission should ensure the consistent application and respect of the Constitution and electoral laws without any interference. 2. The Electoral Commission should improve and observe election nomination procedures to address the pitfall of denomination of candidates duly nominated. The EC should fully finalize the nomination process before printing of ballot papers. 3. The EC should consider a waiver or reduction on the payment of nomination fees for women, youths, and candidates with disabilities to incentivize and enhance their participation in competitive seats. 4. The EC should disaggregate electoral information, including on disability status, to allow targeted provision of sign language, ramps, and accessibility adjustments. 5. The EC should facilitate early setup of the polling station through timely delivery of materials to allow voting to start on time in line with the 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. window. 6. The EC should conduct robust test runs of new technologies such as the BVV case before voting day to ensure their effective use on the election day. 7. The EC should compensate equal time loss in each polling station in line with international and regional best practice. 8. The EC should consider providing shades in the polling stations to cultivate favorable and inclusive voting environment for voting officials voters and other stakeholders. 9. The agency should invest in disaggregating election data based on the age, the gender, and disability status. Security agencies. Security agencies should operate within the law and mandate in a manner that is proportionate, impartial, and respectful of human rights to ensure that electoral security measures do not create an atmosphere of fear, curtail human rights, fundamental freedoms, and undermine political participation. 2. Security agencies should refrain from issuing directives on election-related issues that are not within their purview to do so. And we say so because one of the most controversial things as we came in was the issue of after voting, the law says stay within 20 meters radius. But then the chief of the Ugandan Defense Force was the first person that was quoted as issuing that when you vote, you should leave, contrary to the law. And this is coming from the very, the head of the military, created so much tension in the country. If probably that statement was issued by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, which have the authority to do so, citizens would have taken it differently. So security agencies should not make statements on election-related issues that are not within their purview to do that, so that citizens will not be apprehensive. Political parties. Political parties are encouraged to promote internal party democracy, introduce quotas in all leadership positions, and equitable access to campaign resources, particularly for women, youth, and candidates from marginalized groups. This is an interim report presented to you today, but the final report, a tradition of AU, COMESA, and IGAD, will be ready in a month's time. And that report will also be sent to the government of Uganda and a copy to the key stakeholders like Electoral Commission and the security operatives. I thank you all.
Thank you so much. So that was the report from the combined mission of AU, COMESA, and IGAD. And now we'll hear from the head of mission representing East Africa Community. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, good luck. Jonathan, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and head of combined mission AU, COMESA, IGAD, Excellencies, High Commissioners, representing East African Community member states, Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, East African Community observers, international observers, invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Upon the invitation by the Electoral Commission of the Republic of Uganda, the Secretary General of the East African Community, Honorable Veronica Nduva, deployed the East African Community Election Observation Mission to the 2026 general elections in the Republic of Uganda. Observing elections in the East African Community is in line with the fundamental principles of promoting good governance and democracy in the community, which are enshrined in the Treaty for the establishment of the East African Community and East African Principles for Election, Observation and Evaluation adopted by the East African Community in 2012. This election observation mission is comprised of 58 observers under my leadership, and I'm deputized by Honorable Maina Karobia Mwangi, who is the chairperson of the Regional Affairs and Conflict Resolution Committee of the East African Legislative Assembly. The members of the mission were drawn from the East African Legislative Assembly, East African Community Secretariat, national assemblies, government ministries, and electoral management bodies of the East African Community Partner States, other than the Republic of Uganda, in compliance with East African principles on election observation that provide that no national of the country holding the election should be a member of the election observation mission. Ladies and gentlemen, prior to constituting the election observation mission, the East African community conducted a pre-election assessment from 14th to 20th December 2025, whose objective was to evaluate the electoral environment and the preparedness of relevant institutions and stakeholders involved in the electoral process in 2026 elections in the Republic of Uganda. The mission engaged with key electoral stakeholders, including the Electoral Commission, the police, the judiciary, political parties and organizations, the Human Rights Commission, the media, civil society organizations, Uganda Law Society, and heads of other international observation missions. The mission also engaged with the incumbent President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is also the presidential candidate from the ruling party, National Resistance Movement, as well as the presidential candidate from the main opposition party, National Unity Platform, Honorable Kagulanyi Sentamu Robert. The mission is grateful to all stakeholders who freely and willingly accepted to meet and interact with the East African Community election observers. Ladies and gentlemen, the East African Community Election Observation Mission deployed 12 teams spread across all regions of the country to observe processes, including final phases of the campaigns, preparation of polling stations, opening, voting, counting, and tallying processes, and the other limited post-election activities. On polling day, the East African community observers were able to observe elections in 184 polling stations. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to present the preliminary findings of the election observation mission, which are based on the interactions and engagements the East African Community Election Observation Mission had with the various stakeholders and observation mission on key election and election day activities. The East African Community Election Observation Mission made the following observations. The 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as amended, and other relevant laws provided the legal framework on which this year's general elections were conducted. The mission noted that Uganda's legal framework offers a robust foundation for the conduct of democratic elections in line with international and regional commitments that Uganda has ratified, including the East African Community Treaty. The political context was characterized by heightened competition, with 8 presidential candidates running for presidency, including the at presidential, parliamentary, and all municipal elections. This reflects rising public interest in governance, broadening political space, and voter choice. The mission further noted that there were several petitions arising out of the political party primaries and several unsuccessful aspirants opting to run as independent candidates. Although these provided voters a wider spectrum of candidates to choose from, It points to internal weaknesses in intra-party, including ineffective dispute resolution mechanism. The electoral environment has been largely peaceful and conducive for the conduct of elections. Electoral campaigns were mostly calm and peaceful. The mission noted that Uganda has a legal and a regulatory framework on political party financing whose objective is to enhance fairness and integrity of the political parties. However, the mission noted that the law does not provide for campaign financing to cater for campaign expenditure so as to ensure a level playing field during electoral process. The mission commends the efforts by the Electoral Commission regarding preparation and management of the 2026 general elections and the systematic stakeholders' engagement throughout the electoral process, including briefing international observers on the preparedness and the overall conduct of the elections. The Electoral Commission published a comprehensive roadmap as early as August 2023, covering electoral activities, including demarcation of electoral areas, updates and display of the voters' register, and the nomination of candidates. The mission notes that the National Voters Register had 21,681,491 registered voters, which reflects a laudable 70% increase from 18,103,603 in the 2021 general elections. The mission noted that 53% of the registered voters are female, which demonstrates commendable women participation in the country's electoral process. The mission noted some concerns raised with regard to the high number of candidates denominated by the Electoral Commission after previously being validly nominated, candidates declared unopposed, and appeals arising out of nominations and denominations process lodged before the courts a few days to the election day. There is need to streamline the procedures and timeline for these processes to minimize confusion and enhance credibility and public trust in the electoral process. The mission recognizes the active role played by civil society organizations in civic and voter education and election observation. The mission commends peace initiatives led by the Uganda Human Rights Commission and the Inter-Religious Council of Uganda, which culminated in the signing of a peace pledge towards peaceful, inclusive, and accountable electoral process. The mission noted that the law provides for equal coverage of candidates by state-owned media. Generally, media offered extensive coverage of the electoral process and were also essential in dissemination of voter information to encourage meaningful participation in the elections. The mission noted that although there was no female presidential candidate or disaggregated data on female candidates, youth, and persons with disability, political participation of women is promoted through district women representatives in parliament. Inclusivity is further enhanced in parliament through special interest groups elections, together with youth, workers, persons with disability, and UPDF. The mission noted that on 30th January 2026, the Uganda Communications Commission issued a directive suspending public internet access, which had a direct impact on the compilation and analysis of field reports from our observers. Regarding voting, counting, and tallying, on polling day, the mission observed the following. During opening, all polling stations visited opened late with an average delay of 3 hours due to late delivery of election materials, malfunction of biometric voter verification kits, and delayed setup of polling stations. These delays caused frustrations for voters at some polling stations, with some deciding to leave. Despite these delays, the mission observed that the environment was generally calm and peaceful, with noticeable presence of party and candidate agents. All the polling stations observed were accessible to persons with disabilities, demonstrating efforts toward inclusivity. Assistance was provided to voters who needed it, including those with visual impairments, in line with the legal framework for election day procedures. All polling stations visited were in open areas, allowing for more transparency of the voting processes. However, some of the polling stations did not have shelter for polling officials, party agents, and voters. The observers noted that authorized stakeholders, such as party and candidate agents, had seamless access to the polling stations and performed their duties without difficulties. The presence of party agents and observers at polling stations demonstrated a vital principle of transparency in the electoral process. The presence of security personnel at all polling stations visited ensured peace and order. The conduct of security was observed to be professional, non-intrusive, and discreet. Identification of registered voters was conducted transparently and confirmed by party and candidate agents who had copies of the voters' registry at each polling station. Voting proceeded uninterrupted in all the polling stations visited throughout the day. The mission observed that most of the polling stations had queues with an average of 50 to 100 voters. An average of 5 polling officials were deployed in all polling stations visited. There was a commendable gender balance, with at least 50% women constituting the election personnel. The polling officials demonstrated professionalism and handled election duties with knowledge and understanding of the procedures, a reflection of adequate training by the Electoral Commission. Most polling stations closed an hour later than the prescribed time, 4 p.m., acting on the directive of Electoral Commission to compensate for the delays at opening. Voters still on the queue were allowed to vote. Counting was conducted transparently in the presence of party and candidate agents, observers, and voters who maintained the 20 meters radius as prescribed by law. There was a considerable number of invalid votes. At the polling stations observed, candidate agents received and signed declaration of results forms, which were posted outside polling stations. Then we have some recommendations. The East African Observer Mission makes the following recommendations. Political parties and organizations should strengthen their processes and dispute resolution mechanism and procedures to address the high number of independent candidates arising from the primaries. Legal reforms should be introduced to provide for campaign financing with a view of enhancing transparency in campaign financing and ensuring a level playing field during electoral process. The Electoral Commission should endeavor to publish disaggregated data indicating the number of female and youth candidates in each election to inform public policy and advocacy. The Electoral Commission should enhance voter education to minimize the number of invalid votes in future elections. The Electoral Commission should provide shelter for polling officers, party and candidate agents, and voters at polling stations, and make use of school buildings or other public buildings not in use during the election period. There is a need to ensure that public access to information through ICT, such as internet services, are available and accessible to all persons during the electoral process. Measures should be put in place to balance security concerns with the benefits of public access to internet services. The Electoral Commission needs to minimize cases of denomination of candidates by enhancing mechanisms for verification of requirements before nomination. The Electoral Commission should investigate the causes of the manufacture of biometric voter verification kits and seek to ensure that this does not affect use of technology in future electoral processes. Conclusion. The East African Election Observer Mission congratulates the people of the Republic of Uganda for exercising their right to choose their leaders during the 2026 general elections. Considering that the electoral process is still ongoing, the East African Community Election Observer Mission urges all stakeholders to continue to uphold peace and refrain from any action that could undermine the integrity of the process. The mission further urges any actors dissatisfied with the outcomes of the process to address their grievances through peaceful and means established by law. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Eda, from the East African Community. And now we hear from the ICJLR Parliamentary Forum, and after that we will hear from the East Africa Standby Force. Thank you.
Your Excellency, former Republican President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, heads of mission, honorable members of Parliament, ambassadors and diplomats present, distinguished delegates, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. We are extremely honored to present the preliminary statement of the Forum of Parliaments of Member States of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, which is based on the observations made by our electoral observation mission during the general elections in the Republic of Uganda, held on the 15th January 2026. Our sincere gratitude goes to the people and government of the Republic of Uganda for their warm hospitality accorded to us since our arrival. The deployment of the short-term election observer mission underscores our dedication to uphold the principles of Article 6 of the International Conference on the Great Lakes Region Pact on security, stability, and development in the Great Lakes region, with particular emphasis on the protocol on democracy and good governance. Furthermore, our observation mission is a response to the generosity invitation extended to the forum by the government of the Republic of Uganda. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in person to foster a culture of democratic governance in the Great Lakes region, we deployed 21 observers from the member states of the forum, namely the Republic of Kenya, the United Republic of Tanzania, the Republic of Zambia, and the General Secretariat headed by me, Moses Moyo, as the head of mission. Given that the Republic of Uganda is a member state of the forum, we consider it significantly honored to be among the international observation groups accredited to observe the 2026 general elections. Ladies and gentlemen, let me summarize the electoral observation activities that we carried in run-up to the January 15th general elections, in accordance with our mandate as follows. In order to ascertain the state of preparation and preparedness towards the January 15th general elections, the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region conducted a pre-election analysis. Upon arrival in Kampala, the observers participated in a comprehensive briefing and orientation on the 9th January 2026 before being deployed in areas of responsibility. In order to increase public awareness about the presence and mandate of the mission, upon arrival, we officially issued arrival statement on the 9th of January 2026 at the regional training facility in Munyoye. The mission met electoral stakeholders such as the Center for Policy Analysis, briefing by the Electoral Commission, members of the press, heads of mission of international observer groups, and members of the diplomatic corps accredited to the Republic of Uganda. The engagement meetings were aimed at understanding the state of preparation and preparedness towards holding the January 15 general elections. The observers were subsequently deployed in teams of 4 to observe the polling proceedings in Kampala Central, Kampala East, Kampala West, and Kampala North. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our pre-election analysis of the 2026 general elections in the Republic of Uganda reviewed the following. The Electoral Commission developed a roadmap for the 2026 general elections, which was implemented in a phased manner. The mission noted that the Commission carried out all planned activities under the roadmap as scheduled. In line with the international, regional, and national framework, the mission conducted civil and voter education in collaboration with key electoral stakeholders such as civil society and the media, among others, to ensure that all eligible citizens understand the purpose, procedure, and significance of the elections. The mission also noted that the Electoral Commission utilized the digital platforms such as X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, which are increasingly important in engaging with the youths. This intervention helped in providing real-time interaction and prompt response to inquiries. The mission commends the Electoral Commission for integration of physical identification features on the biometric voter verification kit, in addition to the use of the thumbprint. The mission commends the Electoral Commission for the intention to place the notice only in polling stations where nominated candidates would have lawfully withdrawn from participating while appearing on the ballot box, in order to give guidance to the would-be voters not to vote for particular candidates. The interaction with stakeholders revealed that the campaign period was generally calm and peaceful as compared to 2016 and 2021 general elections, which were attributed to adherence of campaign guidelines stipulated by the Electoral Commission and by all political parties. In this regard, the mission commends the Electoral Commission, security operators, the competing political parties, and all the citizens for their effort in maintaining peace. There were also concerns raised by increasing misinformation, disinformation, and use of hate speech on social media. The temporary suspension of public internet access and selected mobile services during the election period as a measure by government to mitigate spread of online misinformation, disinformation, and electoral fraud, as well as preventing incitement of electoral violence. ladies and gentlemen, the mission would like to clearly state that in its finding on the 2026 general elections in the Republic of Uganda are purely based on the pre-election analysis in country polling procedures and voter counting at the polling stations. Let me now address the polling day activities according to the Electoral Commission. There are 50,739 polling stations and 21,681,491 registered voters countrywide. Let me highlight that our observers were given the opportunity to observe the opening, voting, and closing procedures in all the polling stations. The mission observed the following. Most of the polling stations visited by the mission in Kampala Central, Kampala East, Kampala West, and Kampala North did not open on the official stipulated time of 07 hours. The opening was delayed by 2 or 3 or more hours. The reasons being due to malfunction of the biometric voter identification kit. In some instances, polling officials did not receive the passcode. There were fewer numbers of registered voters present in some polling stations during the opening, below 10 as required by the law to officially open the polling station for voting. However, as the day progressed, more voters turned up to vote as observed in long queues. Elections were conducted in a peaceful, calm environment that allowed the people of Uganda to exercise their democratic right to vote. The polling stations were laid in a manner that allowed smooth flow and guaranteed secrecy. There were presence of police personnel, security personnel in all polling stations as observed, and they conducted themselves in a professional manner. The presence of political party agents in the polling stations, particularly the Theological Party of Uganda, National Resistance Movement, National Unity Platform, Democratic Front, and in some instances, independent candidates was commendable. Generally, the opening procedures were followed by the polling staff and demonstrated a good knowledge of the opening procedures. The mission is glad to note that there were no incidences of voter inducement in the polling stations observed. Also, there were no form of campaign activities by political parties observed outside the polling stations. However, the mission observed the presence of campaign materials in some polling stations visited at the time of opening, contrary to the law, which requires non-existence of campaign materials within the radius of 20 meters from the polling center. Our mission had the opportunity to observe the voting procedures in a significant number of polling stations in Kampala City District. The mission is gratified to report that, notwithstanding the delayed opening of polling stations, the voting process unfolded in a serene and orderly manner. The polling stations that the mission visited were staffed with women and youth generally constituting most of the workforce. As a concern, the mission noted that non-participation of women as presidential aspirants in this year's elections, which does not promote the participation, inclusivity, and gender equality in the political sphere. The requirement of voters to be 20 meters away from polling stations after voting was difficult to implement, especially in polling stations situated in marketplaces. In some polling stations visited, application of indelible ink to voters was done by police officers. In other instances, it was done by political agencies and at times by voters themselves. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, observed that the mission observed the close The mission calls upon the relevant authorities to handle formal disputes in a manner that promotes a culture of peace dispute resolution. The mission will issue a more detailed and comprehensive report shared through its diplomatic channels to all relevant stakeholders. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So that was the report from the International Conference on the Great Lake Region Parliamentary Forum. And now we go to the last report from Honorable Ambassador. I would want to say your name so that I pronounce it wrongly, but I believe it's Ndadaburishimana. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Your Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Head of the Joint Mission, AU, COMESA, and IGAD. Your Excellency Bernard Makuza, former Prime Minister and the former Speaker of the Senate of the Republic of Rwanda, Chairperson of the panel of elders of the Eastern Africa Standby Force. Dear colleagues, Head of Missions, dear Excellencies, Ambassadors, and members of the Diplomatic Corps present here, dear observers, members of the press, at the invitation of the government of the Republic of Uganda, the Council of Ministers of Defense and Security of the Eastern Africa Standby Force, in accordance with the East African guidelines on election observation, approved the deployment of an ESF short-term election observer mission to observe the conduct of the general elections. Specifically, our mission focused on observing the presidential elections that were held on 15th January 2026 in the Republic of Uganda. The ESF election observer mission was deployed in accordance with the African Union Charter on Elections, Democracy and the Governance, and the International Declaration of Principles for International Elections Observation, with the authority of the chairperson of the Eastern Africa Standby Force Council of Ministers of Defense and Security. Ladies and gentlemen, our objectives were to enhance public confidence in the electoral process, to promote the fundamental freedom of political rights of the local population in Uganda, to conduct an objective assessment of the polling process, to support the democratic process of the Republic of Uganda, to observe any situation that may lead to a political crisis that may emerge after the elections, and then to uphold ESF's mandate in the promotion of peace and security. The mission was led by myself, Ambassador Jedon Ndabashimana, from the Republic of Burundi, as head of mission. I was assisted by Right Honorable Bernard Makuza, chairperson of the ASF panel of elders from the Republic of Rwanda, who acted as special advisor to the head of mission, and by Swef Kamaradini from ESF executive staff as deputy head of mission. The mission comprised 19 short-term observers drawn from the ESF member states, including Burundi, Comoros, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia, and Sudan, as well we were assisted by the technical team of ESF. Our mission was deployed from 10th to 18th January 2026. Observers were deployed in 9 field teams. One team was manning the Mission Coordination Center, MCC. The field teams observed the polling process in 113 polling stations. The field teams were deployed to all regions of the country, covering Kampala Central and the peripheral areas, Wakiso District, Jinja Municipality, Entebbe Municipality, Mbare City, Guru City, Fort Portal City, Mbarara City, and Lila. The mission leadership participated in local and international observers briefings with head of missions at the regional and continental level, met with the Uganda Electoral Commission, media and civil society organizations. The objective was to have a fair and objective understanding of the electoral process and the political context. We have the pleasure now to present our main findings. This preliminary statement gives an overview of the assessment of the elections and provides details of its observations. The statement is based on objective and independent assessment on the electoral process, specifically at the end of the campaign and electoral period and on the actual election day, and refers to the national legal framework on electoral matters. These include the last days of the campaign and the management of election day operations, including the counting process. Our key findings are the follows. On the aspect of campaign, the campaign were conducted in a largely peaceful environment with sporadic cases of violence. Most candidates conducted mobile campaigns that did not have large crowds of people. The campaigns were mainly done in local dialect. The teams observed use of state resources in some cases, which is contrary to the law. The presence of security personnel was also witnessed. On the aspect of security, voting was largely peaceful in all polling stations, observed despite some anxiety that was noted in a few voters, especially those who reported early to cast their votes, but were unable to due to the delay in the commencement of the voting process. In addition, there was a clear and heavy presence of security agents across all polling stations observed. On the aspect of time, most polling stations observed opened late, mostly due to the late delivery of the election materials. In some polling stations, elections officials failed to report on time, hence affecting the preparations of their stations. In most of the polling stations observed, the biometric voter verification kit, BVVK, failed to work, occasioning the late commencement of the voting process, which was long after the stipulated time at 7 a.m. The presiding officers were unable to log into the BVVK kit as the system could not verify the credentials at the polling stations. The polling stations were opened at averagely 10 a.m. In order to mitigate the situation, the Uganda Electoral Commission issued a directive for polling stations to use the manual voter register for purposes of voter verification prior to casting of ballots. On the aspect of communication, the nationwide internet blackout, which started on 30th January 2026 at 6 p.m., negatively impacted the work of the observers, since information could not be shared in a timely manner between different teams deployed in the different areas and the mission coordination. On the aspect of voter turnout, lower voter turnout was observed in polling stations that may have been occasioned by the late opening of the polling station. On the aspect of media, there was a little to no visible presence of the media, including live media coverage in most polling stations that our mission observed. On the aspect of local observers, our mission encountered very few local observers in the polling stations that they visited. This brings into question the process of registration of domestic specific observers. On the aspect of training of polling staff, in general, a significant lack of harmonization of processes in the polling station was observed, which pointed out a lack of proper training of the polling staff. In certain instances, we observed the presiding officers handling the voter register while issuing ballot papers, at the same time leaving other polling staff with no work to perform. We also observed the voters being inked on different fingers, which deferred to the set guideline, which indicated that fingers are to be inked on the voter's cuticle on the right hand thumb. On the aspect of crossing, due to the late opening of the polling stations, crossing was extended by 1 hour from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. However, this communication came very late, and some polling stations were unaware of this directive and even questioned the veracity of the information. On the aspect of counting, the observer teams indicated that the vote counting process in most areas were conducted smoothly and in accordance with the law. In a few polling stations, the 20-meter rule that ensured the public overwhelmed the polling station was not observed. On the issue of gender balance, in the 113 polling stations observed, 56% of the polling officials were female. Ladies and gentlemen, recommendation. Our mission recommends the following: urges all the stakeholders to take note of the objectives and findings to improve future electoral processes in Uganda. Encourages continuous civic education in support of efforts already in place. Urges restraint to all stakeholders and further encourage adherence to the Constitution and the laws of the land in the case of contestation. In conclusion, based on its observations and findings, our mission concluded that the electoral process took place in an overall orderly and calm manner. This preliminary statement will be followed by the final report, which will be released within 90 days to the Republic of Uganda and shall be available on the ESF website. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ambassador. Thank you for your attention and patience through the four statements that have been made to us. We've listened to the statement from the Joint Mission of the African Union, KABANDA and HAJJAT, by His Excellency Jonathan. We heard from the East Africa Community, from Honorable Madam Eda Mwabogiza. We also heard a statement from the International Conference on Great Region, Parliamentary Forum, read to us by Honorable Mrs. Moyo, and finally from the East Africa Standing Force, read to us by Ambassador Jabarishuri Mana. Members of the press, this is your session. If you have an opportunity to ask questions, if any, seek clarification from any of the statements that have made before us. As you do so, please state your name and the media house that you represent. Keep your questions brief and to the point.
Musoke Alice Osini, 328. Musoke Joseph, 403. Muteri Ramadan, 183. Zanvari Rasul Hassan, 46,144. As a returning officer for Executive District, in accordance with Section 77(1) of the Parliamentary Elections Act, declare Zanvari Rasul Hassan was obtained the highest number of votes to be the elected candidate for Nasa and described constituency in the official district.
Let's think about Uganda. Let's avoid self-seeking goals, things that will put Uganda into trouble. We come into election not to fight. This is not a battle. This is not a war. We are here to bring ourselves to those who are going to vote us, and people will choose their leaders. And we believe that's the democracy we are talking about. Let's have a free and fair election rather than going into battle, rather than going into running battles. I was telling my campaign agent and those who saw me where I voted, I got a lot of issues. The soldiers were chasing us from the voting areas.
And they arrested some of our people.
And they also arrested some of our people. I think that should stop.
Accordingly, as the returning officer for Executive District, in accordance with Section 77(1) of the Parliamentary Elections Act, I declare Queen Muada was obtained the largest number of votes to be the elected candidate for Java Police constituency in Mogadishu District. $4,254. Namtuba Irene Medina, 172. Accordingly, as the returning officer for Executive District,
surrounded by security, so he cannot go out. But I've not seen him to know whether we are preparing for this conference. But before we leave, because we will include some of this in a final report, because we are still observing. Before we leave, we'll find out why is in a semi-house arrest situation, though he's in his own house, not where we visited, because I was told that it's not in the house where we visited him, but that is in a different house, but that is his own house, surrounded by security people. That is the information we have. Though there's flying news that, in fact, somebody asked whether that even helicopter flew out in the night. We got that information. That was the wrong information. It's not been flown out of this of the country. But we don't know details, and I cannot just guess. I have to tell you exactly what I know. Somebody asked evidence of ballot stuff. Well, to the best of our own knowledge from our team, the African Union Commencer and IGAD team, there was no evidence of ballot stuffing. We did not observe in all the polling stations in the country, but based on, I think, 400-something polling stations that we observed, and especially where we witnessed the closing, there was no evidence of ballot stuffing, no.
Okay, calling for the last time. Anyone else with any question? Members of the press?
My name is Akre Papa, and I work with Millennial News. My question is Excellency to Nathan Goodluck. Sir, given the fact that the internet was shut down, did you get a chance to hear from the Electoral Commission on how they were receiving these results from the regional tally centers and the polling stations on the ground?
Thank you so much. Because we got the information about the internet on Tuesday. In fact,
we thought it was our time now, but it seems this government is making it very impossible once again. But people of Uganda, I want to thank you very much. You have spoken. You spoke. Your voice spoke. And I know they must be feeling it. They are feeling it. And one time, one day, we are going to overcome. We shall get there. We are not jubilating now, not because we have not gotten any victory. Some of us have been declared as winners, but our colleagues inside there are still suffering. So it has been a lot, I must say.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zahara. We can now qualify to
But allow me to appreciate all members present here, starting with the various heads of mission, the committee represented here, the observers mission, or rather observers who went to the various missions, long hours of dedication, some in very rough terrains, drafters of the various speeches, communication and visibility team, coordinators of the various missions in here. Thank you so much. And of course, our drivers who went to very long drives. Thank you to you all. As you go home, we wish you journey masses and a prosperous 2026. Thank you.
I don't have much to say as now. Thank you. That is a challenge. You know, I always.
The NRM supporters of Madina Nsereko. Madina Nsereko, who has successfully been declared as the MP for Kawempe South. Madina Nsereko has beaten a man popularly known as Chairman Nyanzi, or Nyanzi Sentamu. Madina Nsereko managed to garner 18,591 votes. And the contender, Chairman Nyanzi, garnered 11,222 votes. Accordingly, there are other candidates who have been declared here, including Zahara Ruika. Zahara Ruika of the National Unity Platform. Zahara Ruika, the candidate of the National Unity Platform, has managed to garner 32,264 votes, beating NRM's Keita Doreen. Keita Doreen also served as RCC, but also she was the NRM candidate in this position, much in the West. Much in the West, remember, Zahara Ruika shifted positions from Kampala woman MP aspirant after the National Unity Platform chose Shamim Malende, the incumbent. So that is what is happening. And the incumbent MP, Sewanyina Alan, who missed the NUP card, secured 4,452 votes. So what you can see in my background are supporters of Madina Nsereko, and okay, njagala omuyeka. Essanyu ki?
Olunaku olwaleero essanyu lye nnina lya Kawempe South. Omubaka Honorable Madina Nsereko Ntale abamezi ate akubidde eddala ewali ekitebe era awanguddewo n'ebitundutundu 2-2.
Biki byayagala abakolere nga mu abavubuka?
Honorable Madina Nsereko sigenda kugamba nti nebiki byayagala tukolere kuba of course abimanyi ate abadde abikola. Si byagamba nti no be bana ababaka abajja abagenda okukola ki ebbanga lyonna byakozeeko tetubadde naye tukoze ki amanya ze Suna Taibu mali gyakugamba yo akalala ekirala omubaka oyo gwolaba mwana nzaalwa ye Kawempe nze mmanyi wasomedde wensomedde
wasomye naye
sisomye naye naye kusomera we yasomera we nasomera kisajja tutumuwako obujulizi we yasomera primary ne we yasomera secondary wenkoze eki wonna wensomedde yasomera ku St. Martin emulago omulago 2 ushegera n'avaawo n'agenda ku Kolo SS wasomedde.
Amanya n'eddoboozi enze Azima Badiru nga ndi muntu nzaalwa ya Kawempe South. Nina essanyu ly'amaanyi nnyo. Ekitebe kya Nuupu nkikutte eno weevu ya baasi. Ono omukyala wangudde alina amannya nga 6 bamita Mama Kawempe, Senga Kawempe, Jjajja we Kawempe, chairperson we Kawempe. Kati omukyala ono mu Uganda yonna yasinga basaries ennyingi mu Kampala. Yasinga kye bayita okulobinga. Ndowooza basinga kyonna kye bayita okulobinga mukitegera bulungi. Amanya n'eddoboozi bamuyita Madina Nsereko Ntale.
Erinnya Zuwa Charles. Ekyamazima amatuufu tubadde tukulemberwa abaami. Ku luno twasabye katukulemberweko maama tulabe yatulera.
So those are some of the supporters of Madina Nsereko. So like I was telling you that the other declared candidate here is Ali Kasirye Mulyanyama, commonly known as Mulyanyama. That is the candidate for NRM, Machinde East, who managed to garner over 17,000 votes. Then the NRM scooped 15,522 votes. So what is happening here? My concern is the number of invalid votes, because when you look at the declaration of result forms, you look at the invalid votes increasing at many of these divisions. So this calls for a lot of questioning about civic education, because of recent I witnessed the Electoral Commission chairperson and a section of the Electoral Commission officials educating the public on how to cast their vote. But you find that if in a constituency like Rubaga North and Rubaga South, there are over 3,000 invalid votes. So you question why, where is the problem? These are some of the areas that need to be looked at. The returning officer of Kampala district, that is Muhasa Rashid, is now left with 2 positions to announce, and that is the Kawempe North constituency and Kampala district woman MP. Kampala district in total has got 10 slots of the parliamentary cake, which has to be shared. So far, NRM and National Unity Platform have booked positions to have a share in this cake. So we shall be giving you what happens as we get the results from the returning officer. The mood here is a bit energetic. There are those who have beautiful smiles. There are those who arrived with beautiful smiles at the start, but right now the smiles have disappeared. You know why. So that is what is happening here. My name is Daniel Mugoya. We shall be giving you more updates when they come in. Thank you very much.
Results were being released, and indeed congratulations to all the winners. We've seen the excitement from the cadres and supporters of HAJJAT Nsereko Madina and Kale, who has won the direct MP for Kawempe South. And of course, we also understand that Zahara Luirika, representing the NUP party, has won for Machindie Division West. Ali Muyanyama has also won Machindie East under the NUP ticket, and Joel Senyoni has won Nakawa West right there. You are watching UBC TV. My name is Julie F. Nantaba. UBC Uganda goes to the polls. Now, looking at the report from the observers, right before we got into some of the winners. Now on your screen, the results, party performance, status check. So far, we do have 196 MPs for the NRM party and 25 MPs representing the NUP party, and independent is being represented by 39 members of parliament in the 12th August House. UPC represented by 3 members of parliament. The DP party is being represented by 5 members of parliament, and the UPC party is being represented by 3 members of parliament. PFF 2 members and ANT 1 member. Those are the members that are looking forward to representing Ugandans in the 12th August House. Looking at the big shots that lost this election, we do have Beatrice Atim. In other words, Beatrice Anywa, Mama Mabida. This time around under the NRM ticket, she lost. We also do have Joyce Katduchu, who lost. In there is Honorable Lutamaguzi Semakula, who lost. Honorable Betty Amongi lost as well. Honorable Henry Oriem Okelo lost. Honorable Adoa Helen also lost. David Bahati also did lose. Muwanga Chivumbi under the NUP party also lost Butambala County. And Matthias Simpuga also lost. And Theodore Sechikubo did lose as well. Semujunganda and Medad Segona. Those are the names of the big shots that have really represented in the August House and are not coming back.
Secretary General, big name.
Secretary General, but he was not in Parliament. So we're looking at the names. Those that were in Parliament. If you're wondering who
didn't defend their title.
Yes, who did not defend. In case you're wondering who I'm having this conversation behind the scenes with, it's Honorable Mike Sevalu. He's definitely having a conversation with us in just a bit. And on that note, actually, let's start this conversation with the observers. The observers who have taken a look at the Ugandan election have given their report, given their recommendations. Some of the observations they made, they are being headed by former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, heading all the mission of the observers team. He made mention of the fact that youth and women participation in their view was quite low, especially if broken down for women participating for the position of presidency. Inclusivity in the electoral commission cycle was also quite low. Inclusivity in the name of peoples with disabilities, and of course the robust technology has to be studied more. They felt that it lacked. Now they did share what they saw on the opening day, and of course they made mention of the malfunctioning of the BVVKs, delayed voting requirements to the polling stations, and they made mention of the fact that despite the fact that there were those 2 issues at the start of the election, of the voting cycle, the environment was calm altogether, and the assistance with PWDs, took note of that, those who had disabilities were helped by someone. If it's a blind person, they'd help them to tick. If it's a lame person, they would help them to walk to the basins to tick their candidates. But rather, it's still low. And then polling stations were open but had no polling shelter. The observers mentioned that polling stations had no polling shelter to protect or aid polling agents and election officials in their work. So even if it rained cats and dogs, they would suffer the consequences. And even if the sun was scorching, which it is lately, they had to suffer the consequences. They also looked at the presence of security. And for them, it meant that this ensured peace during the election process, the voting process. And security was also professional, according to the observers. And voting was uninterrupted in the places that they visited. They also commended a balance in gender. There was gender balance according to the election observers, and they also noted a professional exhibit of the polling officials right there. They also took note of a considerable number of invalid votes. Some of the recommendations they put across, political parties should come up with amicable solutions of conflict resolution that does deal with the numbers of independent candidates that lean towards these parties. They also recommended that the EC should share a statistic of candidates who are female candidates who are participating. First and foremost, the fact that the male candidates were the only ones representing as presidential candidates did not cut it. That means for all other candidatures, that the numbers of female candidates had to be stated. The statistics had to be stated. And they also recommended that there was a need to make indeed public shelters for polling officials, but also the issue of the internet. The observers stated that information needed to be available for voters, especially on the internet, and internet needed to be accessed. And they also stated that the Electoral Commission should reduce on the numbers and cases of candidates who are denominated or disqualified, citing that some of these issues should be rectified as early as possible before someone is nominated and their name ends up on the ballot paper. They also emphasized peace right there. Now on the screen, let's follow what is on the screen. Shamim Malende being declared heading to the Kampala Tally Center at Kololo, as they declare Shamim Malende as woman member of parliament for Kampala. Let's take a listen.
We are glad that you've been able to give a very objective update and analysis of the developments. So thank you very much. I'm glad to be part of this show, and I'm available to share a thing or two about what is happening around us within the political space, more specifically the electoral updates.
All right, it's a pleasure always having you and learning from you. And before we even get into the conversation of the observers and what you make of their report, let's just in a bit look at what Kampala looks like for now. Yesterday, the Honorable MINSA KABANDA was announced as the direct member of parliament for Kampala, defeating Louis Rubongoya of the NUP party. What do you make of that win, and what does it mean for the NRM party?
Yeah, it means quite a lot. One, I think people need to appreciate that the NRM applied a unique campaign strategy, which was dubbed the parish mobilization model, which then took the electoral process within the NRM in terms of mobilization to the structures, right from the SEC, the NEC, the conference, the district conference, sub-county, parish, and then village. So we were able to engage the entire leadership of NRM at the village level, where we have 63 leaders per village. And that has had a big effect on awakening the consciousness of members, and Kampala has benefited from that arrangement. I was in Kampala working with the Honorable Rose Seninde, and we were working in Kampala and in PG at the parish mobilization model, and it has had impact. So what we are seeing in terms of the voter turnout, in terms of performance, has been an outcome of a deliberate strategy, an intentional strategy, and a purposeful strategy. And that's why we've been able to get even other MPs coming out. Getting 3 MPs from a point where we had none in the entire city is something good to write home about. So I'd like to thank the Secretariat that came up with that wonderful strategy. I'd like to thank the coordinators, and I would like to thank the chairpersons of the NRM districts within Kampala that made a great contribution to what we are seeing.
All right. And what you can see on your screen right now is a congratulations for Honorable Shamim Malende as she holds her form, declaring her as the official member of parliament for the 12th August House right there. We'll definitely be getting sound and the sound that matches that footage in just a bit. But Honorable Mike Sabalu, just to come back to our conversation on what this means for Kampala. Yesterday, as the Honorable Mr. Kabanda was being congratulated, some questions that came through for her were in regards indeed to her campaign. Her counterpart, Louis Rubongoya, definitely is not satisfied with what came out of the result. But she also talked about her style of campaign, and she made mention of the fact that Louis Rubongoya did not campaign. He was overly confident and took it rather for granted. Do you think it's the same story?
Yeah, I just want to say that I do agree with MINSA KABANDA in terms of campaign strategy. She campaigned
Right, the Honorable Shamim Malende, who's looking forward to serve Kampala in the 12th August House.
Currently, especially the disappearances, the abductions, the illegal arrests, but above all, the fact that our President, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, his life is actually in danger. Right now, I specifically want to thank the people of Kampala for entrusting me with this mandate once again, and I promise not to disappoint. The biggest task that I'm going to handle is, first of all, to ensure that we defend our victory at the presidential level, because I know and I'm sure that the people of Kampala and Uganda did vote and have voted for Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. I'm going to embark on the issue of bailing out our political prisoners, our comrades, together with our other team of legal officers at NUP. But I'm going to put the issues of the people of Kampala and Uganda at the forefront, especially issues touching women, the business community. Currently, you have all witnessed the irregularities, the rigging, but we shall not get tired. We are going to keep pushing until justice is served, until we are all free as Ugandans. The most important thing currently is to ask ourselves, how is our President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu faring currently? Because the last information we got is that his home had been broken into by some military personnel. And what is the stake, or what is going on in the life of other persons or Ugandans that are supporting change? Because we have also seen and heard that outside there, homes are being broken into and people are being taken, tear gas is everywhere and gunshots are everywhere. These are the injustices that we are fighting as the National Unity Platform. And we just promise you.
All right, that is Honorable Shamim Malende, who says that what her victory means is that she is to ensure on, first and foremost, defending the NUP presidency, the NUP candidature and victory at the level of presidency, but also focus on the welfare of the NUP president, that is Honorable Kyagulanyi, and of course bailing out political prisoners and putting the issues of Kampala people, especially the women, at the forefront right there as she indeed gives her victory speech. Honorable Sebalu, it's like you had something to say into that particular matter.
I really, first of all, I congratulate her for making it.
Right.
But I want her to be reasonable and apply intellectual honesty. There's great intellectual dishonesty when she talks of Kyagulanyi's victory being taken. She no evidence, no nothing. I think the politics of populism has no space in the future. She should appreciate that where Kyagulanyi has had great support, he's been able to win. He's won Kampala, and he was won largely in Uganda, where he has majority of supporters. Everyone knows that beyond Kampala, beyond Buganda, Kyagulanyi has isolated support out there. So for her to come up and say that the first point of her is to defend a victory, because first of all, the elections have not been declared. The winner has not been declared, so there is room for that. For someone to begin by saying that the victory is robbed is really being intellectually and ethically very dishonest. Yeah.
Speaking of the politics of populism, as you've indeed rightfully identified it as, let's go back to the issue that you are completing of the campaign strategy of Honorable Mr. Kabanda.
Yeah, Mr. Kabanda. Yeah, a good campaign. One, you must have a good candidate. And in MINSA Kabanda, we had a good candidate for Kampala Central. One, she's got a name visibility. She's got brand recognition. She's got brand visibility. She's got good image. She's got a good profile. So when you talk about MINSA in Kampala, it is synonymous with the Kampala. She's been in the politics of Kampala as a councillor at LC3, at LC5, and she is currently the minister in charge of Kampala. and she's been able to articulate the issues of Kampala. So for her to stand in Kampala Central, she was overqualified for Kampala Central. And when you talk about Lubongoya in Kampala Central, in the issues of Kampala Central, he's an alien. He's a stranger. He's not served in any position in Kampala politics. He's not been anything in Kampala politics. If anything, he got a lot of votes unexpectedly. Whatever he got to me was more than expected, given his profile within Kampala, his background within Kampala. He's a stranger, he's simply coming, and I think he benefited from the overall popularity of the umbrella. It was not about his qualities, it was more about the party. So for him to complain about MINSA is to be dishonest. So first, the candidate was more credible, was more compatible with the people of Kampala. Two, you talk about the message. She had a better message, a message that was informed by the overall mantra of the NRM message of protecting the gains. There are so many gains people in Kampala have been able to register, and that message connects with the people, resonates with the people, is relevant, is positive, is desirable, and is most welcome. So with that, she had a good message. Three, she had the structures. The NRM structures within Kampala Central were all activated to support her. She had people talk for her, you know, at the division level, at the sub-county level, at the parish level, and at the village level. And the NRM Secretariat sent a special team to Kampala, and Kampala Central was part of the beneficiary. I addressed a number of rallies in Kampala where she was not in support of her, and many coordinators were available. So the structures are a big factor in any campaign, and a party without structures like NUPs cannot match, because there can be a lot of popularity and a lot of good messages, but the structures mean a lot. Then three, the party supported her. She had support. There was a budget to support her as a candidate of NRM, because NRM took responsibility to support its MPs. So there are those areas like agents, like some of the meetings, the party came in and gave her a helping hand. So with research, you wouldn't be surprised that he made it. On top of that, she had other structures, she has other networks within the city, because she's a city born, she's a city resident, and she's a big city stakeholder.
All right, Honorable, let's look at the patterns now that you stated that way, in line with structures and strongholds. Let's look at the shifting patterns. 2021 was rather different. NUP was everywhere, almost everywhere. And in Kampala, of course, it's quite a surprise. Many indeed thought that Louis Rubongoya would take it because of the red and...
AFP. I think the questions are similar. They rotate around his status. Mr. Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, as far as I'm informed, he's not under arrest. That is one statement I would like to make categorically clear. The deployment around his place, yes, it is visible, but we have deployed in all areas where our intelligence estimates give us a point to such areas as areas of interest, including places or precincts around Magere. First and foremost, would like to share with you that in some of those pockets, not necessarily at Magere, but in some areas nearby, you know that we had youths who became disorderly. We also have information that most of these are under incitement by specific political actors. So we are dominating as security all areas that are of specific security interest. So it should not surprise you when we have a pickup or two near the residence of Honorable Kyagulanyi. And we don't commit any offense when we deploy in Magere. We have the right to deploy anywhere. But what I would like to categorically make as a statement is he's not under arrest.
Can I just ask you,
please do.
If he's not under a house arrest, is he free to leave his compound?
Has he?
All right, in just a bit, that was from last night's report, but in just a bit we'll be at Lubowa. That was from earlier today, but later on in just a bit we are going to go to Lubowa with Jordan Lukoma, who is going to speak with Afande Rusoke and get clearer information and more information at that in regards to security, especially to the matters of Bobby Wine, his whereabouts and his welfare. So do stay tuned here on UBC TV as you follow all the updates. Right now in studio is Honorable Mike Sebalu, who is with me, and we're having a conversation chewing on elections as they come through, as the results come through, as the patterns are looking like, the statistics and the provisional results that we so far have. In just a few hours before 5, we shall have known. If anything, at 2 p.m, when Justice Simon Byabakama comes back, if anything, he could, probably might tell us and give us the final result of Uganda's constituency as to who is the next leader of Uganda's constituency 2026-2031. Julie F. Nataba here with you, and coming back to you, Honorable Mike Sebalu. Indeed, now I was asking you of the shifting patterns. Right now, what we've seen, 2021 was a wave. The name was a wave.
Yeah, it was.
And 2026, it's different. It's different. Where you expect NUP, you see NRM. NRM is actually making surprise wins in different areas. What do you have to say is an attribute to the patterns?
Yeah, I think what we need to appreciate is that different political or electoral cycles are influenced by the factors pertaining on the ground at a given point in time. 2021, we had COVID, so there was quite a bit of surprise. Even the candidature of Honorable Kyagulanyi was a surprise in itself. There was no precedent, there was no nothing. He was a bit of a mystery. Right now, he's not a mystery anymore. He has been demystified. Now people know the quantity and the quality of candidate Kyagulanyi. The NUP leaders that came out of that wave have been able to be assessed, and many of them have been found to be wanting in terms of leadership. So the excitement has disappeared. And so the operative situation on the ground is different.
All right, Honorable, let's head to Lubowa right now. Joan, pardon me, not Joan, but Jordan is on as he is.
Yes, we thank you so much for watching UBC TV. We are still coming to you live from Lubowa, much in the Sabagabo, at the National Tally Center, where the Electoral Commission is holding that tallying of presidential elections results as they flow in. We are already beyond 50% of the polling stations, and we are still waiting for more results. Now, we are going to have a chance to talk to the police spokesperson again. We have had a number of opportunities to talk to him. Afande Kitoma Rusoke, I beg your pardon. He's already with us here. And mainly, there are allegations that the president of the NUP, their candidate as well, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, has been arrested and is not at his home, and everyone close to him is not allowed to access his home, his contacts, or anything like that. We have an opportunity to talk to the police spokesperson, and we'll have that cleared. Afande, good morning once again.
It is afternoon.
It is already afternoon. afternoon. Oh, good afternoon.
Yes.
We thank you so much. Okay. Now, what is the fact about this? Have you guys arrested Bobby Wine?
One of the facts is that he's not under arrest. The other fact is that whoever is peddling this allegation is a naked liar. Why? Because he is in his home. And I guess you need to give the people the extent of the naked lie they gave. One, they said that we had deployed a chopper which came, airlifted him and took him to an unknown destination. Yes. Lie. It's not true.
Is there anything that has happened that could have been misinterpreted as an arrest?
No, they are trying to be relevant, and this is not the first time that they peddle this kind of lies. They come up one day, say this one has been killed, then it's not true, then they wake up another day. It has been a song. The only difference is that people still believe. That's why they have found it. Because in other countries, you lie like this, you are even supposed to resign. You get it? But these are people who society has come to accept them. They are not answerable for their immoral conduct. They seem to be in a comfort zone of sorts.
They say you have denied access of his close kind of relatives and party members and his officials. They cannot access him neither on phone nor you have even cordoned off his home. They are not allowed to enter. At least if they entered, they would know that he's not arrested and come to tell the world a different story. Have you stopped anyone from accessing him, and why?
There is deployment around Magere, like so many flashpoints and hotspot areas of the country. Of course, as security, we also cannot allow somebody to use his home as a springboard to cause chaos. But to say that we have sieged him and is under arrest is an overstatement.
So what about the allegation that you have denied them access to the home?
No, these are the same people. They thought they would use Magere for organizing a public disorder, and we said no.
That's why it is a no-go zone.
Who said it's no-go zone?
That's what
it is a zone.
Have you denied some people from accessing?
It is a zone where they cannot go the way they want to do things wrongly. Yes, that's what I can say.
Okay. So some people can't access it because of the information you have?
They can't access it the way they want, and to particularly to fulfill the ulterior or those insidious motives.
To calm down the situation and the worries and the suspicions, how can you help the world to know that the man is there, he's with no problem and he's okay?
Let them believe us. The man is there. Only that, unless you are saying that again we should pull him out of his house to parade him before public, which is indecent.
If that's what it may take.
No, he's there.
How about his phone calls, his contacts, is what they can't access him?
I can't go into those details. What brought me here, you got information that he was not there. I have answered you, exactly.
Okay, still around security. We've heard of some places that had shootings the previous day, people arrested. Is it Machindie, Samatuga? What happened last night in those places as police, if you can tell the world, and those who may be scared of going there, if they have relatives there, what happened and what is the state of affairs in those places?
First and foremost, nobody should get scared of going around with his normal business. It is only lawbreakers who need to think twice. You cause chaos, you don't cause chaos and then start asking the outcomes of your chaotic behavior. Do your business well, go your normal business. If you have any discrepancy, go and use lawful and legal channels. Challenge whatever you want to challenge, but do not dream of using violence, because violence begets violence. Secondly, you cannot control the outcomes of violence. Because what some people want to do is to be violent and then question the outcomes. Why hasn't it come out this way? No.
Once you begin a war, how it ends is purely, totally, it is a totally different business altogether. So we have to appeal to people. Use legal channels, means, and approaches in any area where you feel there is a what? There is a conflict. There were incidents in a few areas, pockets of the greater Kampala metropolitan, but in those flash areas we sorted it out. We came into contact with those road and all perpetrators and applied our public order capabilities, which neutralized those things.
There are allegations that in Machindi some roads are even closed. Is that true?
Not now, at least. Okay. And even if it was to do, we would apply countermeasures to ensure that there is tranquility.
Afande security ensonga nkulu tugenda kuddako mu Uganda tulina abalaba ku Star TV. Waliwo ebiteeberezebwa nti mukutte candidate wa NUP.
All right, that is Afande Chituma Rusoke, the police spokesperson, giving us a report of what security looks like right now, and to one who was worried as to the welfare of Kyagulanyi. He mentions that he is safe and he is at his home in Magere, and also says that those who want to organize public disorder indeed have been stopped from accessing him at Magere. And he says that with the pockets of insecurity here and there that you are seeing should not stop you, who is a peacekeeping citizen, from going about your business for as long as your intentions are well-meaning. And thank you, Jordan, from Lubowa, for giving us that insight into what the stand of security is like right now. UBC UG polls 2026. We are looking at the state of affairs as the votes are being counted for who the next president of Uganda is going to be. In studio, I do have Honorable Mike Sebalu, and we are chewing on matters here and there as they come through, and of course as the conversation does flow. Honorable Mike Sebalu, we were talking about the patterns, and indeed you did mention that 2021 NUP was not tested, it was a mystery, and 2026 it's known, so people knew what they were voting for.
Yeah, it is demystified because that time there was a wave. People got excited. They took decisions without serious thinking, without serious consideration. And in many cases, they lost good leaders, replaced them with the leaders who have turned out to be not very meaning in terms of output. And the dynamics that have come up along the way, you know, with the Mpugas and all these breakups, the disintegration, literally, the counter abuses and malignment. So people have come to appreciate what NUP is in terms of quantity and terms of quality. The kind of members that came to Parliament, some of them are yet to make their maiden speech, and yet they are campaigning for re-election. All those dynamics have been able to demystify the mystery around NUP. So coming round, we prepared for them because we knew what they were made of, what they stand for, what they are capable of, and what their ability is in terms of leadership. And so NRM has organized and reorganized, and we've been able to liberate quite a number of constituencies that were hitherto occupied by NUP. Even in terms of performance, NRM is performing much better than it did in those areas that are considered to be NUP favorites. So basically, it is not surprising at all that in Kampala we are able to get 3 MPs so far. And even the average performance at the presidential level is much better. All that can be explained, and it is attributed to the strategy that we used. The strategy of using the structures, the strategy of using the leaders, the strategy of letting the campaign be owned, championed, and undertaken by the leadership across the entire structures. And it is paying dividends.
Let's throw light onto areas like Wakiso, where still NUP is rather a stronghold. Yes, NRM has had its wins like in Busiro North, but if you look at Machide Sabagabo, NUP has won, Rubaga South, NUP has won, Busiro East, yes, where Honorable Medad was, which is where you were.
Simply put it this way, in Wakiso, NUP had 100% win in the parliamentary race in 2021. As we speak, 3 constituencies have been recovered by NRM. That is Busiro North, Busiro South, and Entebbe municipality. Again, it confirms the narrative I'm giving you that we've demystified. And this is work in progress. We are going to liberate all of them. It is a question of time.
Now, when we get to what is at the tally centers and what the candidates say is on ground, the stories seem to be different. It is stated for candidates, most of the candidates, that overnight a different statistic is displayed or is told, and by break of day, it's a whole different shift of the paradigm. What do you have to say into this matter?
Yeah, you know, we are dealing with competitors who are not ready for losses. When you go into any contestation, if you're a very objective person, you should be able to look at 2 possibilities, a win or a loss. And if you are that objective participant, you should be ready for either. But our colleagues are not ready for any. That's why even at the presidential level, you found that at one point there was a statement by the candidate that he will never participate in an electoral process that is managed by Justice Byabakama. That is on record. Another very prominent member of the same party, to be specific, Honorable Lutamaguzi, came up with even a wild statement where he did indicate that whoever ever participates in an electoral process presided over by Justice Byabakama would be the fool of the century. What was so interesting is that he was on the ballot and he lost miserably. You know, losing someone getting twice as many votes as you got. So with that background, it clearly shows that they entered the race well knowing that they would use anything to explain their loss. You remember at one point, mid-term of the electoral process, again a candidate came up with a statement to the effect that even if he won 90%, he would never be declared. Now, those kind of statements clearly show that someone is preparing for their loss, preparing to give justification that they could only lose because the process is not fair. Otherwise, theirs is a win and only a win and a win and a win. Now, that kind of mindset, that kind of attitude is not democratic because definitely even if you went into the mathematics, you know, as we speak, we have over 200 MPs. They hardly have 30 MPs on their name. We had candidates in all electoral areas. They had candidates in, they didn't have candidates in over 20 where our members came unopposed. Those are very early signals of a loss if you're talking about a national election. If you can pass with 20 constituencies almost without you having a candidate, that clearly shows that in that area you are simply on the basic minority. And those are scientific. That is the evidence. It's not a dream, it's not a wish. Those are serious early signals of a loss. Right. So it is not surprising at all what is coming out. Like Kampala, I'm not surprised that they are having majority because they have some good grounding in Kampala. But for NRM to have some 3 clearly shows the effort we've put in, and I would like to salute the Secretariat, Secretary General, Right Honorable Todong and your team, Madam Seninde, Mobilization Director, and the team. You've done a good job. and the leadership of Kampala, the chairpersons and the decks, you've done good, you've delivered. Even the average in terms of the presidential tally is much better than 2021.
Right. On that note, I would like for us to actually look at the general overview of the results as they're coming through. But before that, would like to say thank you very much to Cafe Pub that is making sure that we're enjoying African coffee on set as we take on this marathon, bringing you updates and facts as they appear. Now, Honorable, looking at the general overview, 6th provisional results as they've been released so far. Of course, candidate Yoweri Museveni is in the lead with 7,643,778 votes. And then second to him is candidate Kyagulanyi, who is at 2,601,150 votes. But to add to that matter, some of the agents of all the candidates, some of the presidential candidates that have contested in this election cycle have made statements. Our field reporters at Lubowa have got to have conversations with them, and they've given comments such as the NPP's representative, that is Sharif Sentongo, the Secretary General of the NPP, says that the results do not match with the declaration forms on ground. And he also says that the process has not been clean at all, and that Justice Simon Byabakama has not followed the law, especially with the question and event of the BVV case. When it comes to the BVV case, the ANT representative, the one representing General Mugisha Muntu, also said the BVV case was such a shady move, especially with how quickly the decision was made to switch to Ugandans using their registers, manual registers. Of course, many candidates indeed come through with different comments. With the provisional results as they appear right now, we are left with probably one. By 5, we'll be knowing who our president is 2026, 2031, and with some of the comments coming through from agents of opponent candidates. What is your general overview?
My general overview, first of all, I would like to congratulate the chairperson of the Electoral Commission for having taken leadership to manage a difficult situation that was not foreseen. The failure of the biometrics gadgets was an unfortunate incident, but it needed good leadership to take a decision in order to avert a situation that would not be good. So for them to have taken a decision, and a decision that gives a formidable alternative, was something good to write home about. We need to appreciate the biometric gadgets vis-a-vis the voter register. What is PRIM? What is PRIM is the voter register. That is the authentic source of reference. What the biometric machines were going to do was to help validate what is in the voter register and put a higher level of transparency and make the process more accountable. Because what is in the voter register is what is confirmed by the biometrics. You know, your facials, your thumbprint, and all that. So without the voter register, the machines would be useless. But with the voter register, you can still do a good job even when you don't have the machines. Although when you have the machine without the voter register, you wouldn't be able to do anything. So the voter register was a very fundamental reference point. So in a situation where the machines have failed and you don't have a fallback position, you could easily throw the country into anarchy, where then you have to postpone the electoral process, something that would be very risky. So the decision taken was a good decision. For me, I even want to say they took a little long to take that decision because it delayed to a bit of about 2-3 hours. That decision ought to have been taken even much earlier. So that is the explanation for that. The second aspect of those agents like my brother Sentongo, who is at the Tale in Chigo. Some of these political parties, I appreciate them. I don't want to appear like I'm undermining them. But I want to say the Peasants Party, I never saw any representative where I voted from. I hardly saw any representation anywhere in the country. And I think they are just represented at the national tally. So for them to come up with the generalities when they were not active across, because even in terms of engagement, in terms of the campaign, these are candidates who are there, we appreciate them, and they are given an opportunity to say something, but I want to say I take their points, but I don't take them seriously.
All right, while you appreciate the Electoral Commission on the decisions made and how they are performing, the one representing candidate Muntu at the Tally Center made mention of the portals that are through which the results are being transferred. And he said that they are not user-friendly and they are a very huge indicator of a lot of the unfairness going on and the results mismatch going on right now between what is on ground and what the Tally Center is receiving. What would you have to speak into that, especially on the side of the Electoral Commission?
First of all, I wouldn't want to go so deep because that is an allegation that I cannot verify. But my view is that the chairman has been sharing the details on the screens of the source of the overall pronouncements that he makes, and that is subject to engagement. And if they have any issue, I simply want them to take the rightful channels. I don't want to believe that the candidate, the agent of Mugisha Muntu, is contesting what they are having, because in many of the areas that I listened in, they returned 0. And whether that has been manipulated and changed, I'm not too sure. But if they have evidence that the system is defective, let them point it out. I think the Electoral Commission was very clear in saying that they are making pronouncements and allowing opportunity, the details to be shared on the screens so that people can get, if someone has evidence, then it is good to bring that evidence against what they think has been pronounced in error or by intentional kind of misrepresentation. That is the best I can say.
Very profound at that, especially in regards to speaking with evidence as opposed to misrepresentation. Just in case you are watching UBC TV and UBC Uganda goes to the polls, we are getting all the updates as they come through. And of course, as every Ugandan, we are eagerly waiting for the official announcement to know who the next president of Uganda is. Justice Simon Byabakama did mention that at 2 p.m. he will be back with either the provisional results or the final result of announcing who the next president of Uganda shall be. Generally, by 5 p.m., you will already know who your president is, 2026 into 2031. A special, indeed, vote of thanks to Cafe Pap, who are sponsoring our meals here on set. And that is Cafe Pap, Parliamentary Avenue and Ntinda Shell. You can get in touch with them via the number 0759430720. That is the one at Parliamentary Avenue. And Shell Ntinda, it's 0706058463. Now, an update coming through is Honorable Mary Paula Turiahikayo has been announced winner for Woman MP Rukunjiri District. And indeed, definitely her congratulations go through as well for her. As they come through, we'll be giving them to you. Now, looking at the provisional results, the 6th provisional results that were announced about 10-something minutes a.m. in the morning by Justice Simon Byabakama. In case you missed them, let me just share them with you so that you are right on board. Bulira Frank stands at 44,322 votes with 0.42%, and Robert Kasivante stands at 32,224 votes. That is at 0.30%. Robert Chagulanyi stands at 2,601,150. That is at 24.46%. And Mabirizi stands at 22,274. Pardon me. Mabirizi stands at 22,274, and that is at 0.21%. Candidate Muntu stands at 57,019, and that is at 0.54%. Candidate Munyagwa stands at 30,509, and that is at 0.29%. Candidate Nandala stands at 202,802 votes, and that is at 1.91%. Now, on the screen, we can see Jordan, who is at Lubowa at the National Tally Center, and he is with Honorable Dombo to have a conversation with him as well. Let's take a listen as to what they have to say.
Yes, we thank you so much for watching. We are still coming to you live from Lubowa at the National Tally Center here, Machindi Sabagabo, as we wait for the Electoral Commission to come and give us another release at 2 p.m. We still talk to different stakeholders in the electoral process, political parties, security, the Electoral Commission, all of them, because they have information here and there that we need as the public. Now, I have the spokesperson of the National Resistance Movement, and that is the Honorable Emmanuel Lumala Dombo. They are leading in the presidential results that are provisionally available. We want to know, how have they made it? There are also allegations, Ntibabie. Is it true? How have they, what is the magic? Honorable Dombo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to our viewers.
Yes. First of all, how have been the campaigns, the whole process to now, ever since your candidate was nominated to now? How has it been?
From the time of nomination, we have run a very serene process with our candidate observing all the agreed SOPs of the law, of the guidelines, and of the dates of the rallies that were agreed by the Electoral Commission. We only had the challenge in the Leango sub-region, where we had to omit 2 rallies, the one of Kole district and the other of Lirat district, because of unscheduled or scheduled state duties that were more important than the campaigns, and where the candidate had to go and attend to them. But we had to make up towards the end of the elections, and we moved in all scheduled rallies, including other meetings that were also agreed with the Electoral Commission as a process. So the campaigns has been very serene, very good, and the public has been very enthusiastic, coming to our rallies in big numbers, and at times members of the opposition, or those who don't support us, would allege that we are using school children, but school children don't vote. If the accusation was that we are using AI on the rallies, that we are using school children, how about the voting, which was witnessed by the agents of every candidate? So we have been able to deliver a victory, which is about to be announced by the Electoral Commission. But it took a number of things. The first one, the message of the president in the manifesto. It was a consistent message from the first rally to the last rally. He could only change it by different examples given or by changing the names of the areas where we were. But the message was one, the 7 matofaris contributed by NRM and His Excellency the President to the government or to the Ugandans. And those were consistent. The second one was the organization of the campaign. Previously, we used to have a national task force. This time, the Central Executive Committee served as the central campaign task force for the campaigns. And the Secretariat served as the operational level in order to ensure that the facilities, the resources, the materials are transmitted to the party structures, and the party members and leaders took over leadership of the campaigns. And then finally, vote protection was ably done and provided for by the party. They selected very good vote protectors. They were trained. They retrieved all our declaration forms. And I'm very sure, even if anybody chose to contest the victory, we are very ready with the answers.
Okay. So, the performance you had in 2021 is not as good as what we are seeing currently. Did you have some mistakes in what you have listed, 2021, that you went ahead and corrected all that you didn't do right in 2021 in order to have a better result now?
In 2021, there was a pandemic. We did not have open campaigns. The president only addressed, or our candidate only addressed leaders, some of whom did not even transmit the message to the voters because they had either to rely on mass media, because themselves they were under pandemic and shut it down. So under such circumstances, we were bound to perform the way we did. The regulations were not favorable. The president would only meet leaders. There was altercation between the opposition and the security forces, part of which affected our performance as NRM, because we were being accused as if we were the ones sending the security forces to confront the opposition. So there were many things that did not favor us at that time. This time, the organization has been good, the resources have been available, the security improved on their human rights record, handling the population, and all of us have been beneficiaries of the improved status of the affairs.
I've seen an improvement in the results in Buganda region. What do you bank that on?
Buganda is not different from any part of Uganda.
Yes, but you didn't perform well 2021.
The people of Buganda expect good services from the politicians, expect good water, they expect good jobs, they expect security, they expect good health services, they expect good roads. Now, if they are members of parliament, irrespective of the parties that they are, who do not provide those things to their people, the people will get tired and they'll vote them out. Because the members of parliament who come to parliament, they get better money and they are well off. They are taken abroad to be treated. So they must also talk for their people, for them to be well off. They must work for the wealth creation of the population of Uganda. They must work the good roads to be improved. So the statement in Buganda has been that the voters are tired of rumor mongering, altercation. They want services. They want good roads. Here in Kampala, for instance, why should people be in the ghetto with bed bugs when the government is here with people who can spray bed bugs?
Were they accusing you for the same problems in 2021 as the NRM?
Partially, yes. In Buganda, there was a wave because the young people came and promised heaven on earth, but the people discovered that these people did not have heaven. They had hell instead. So these people delivered the hell with a lot of lies. And the people of Uganda have refused that. So amongst the NRMs, we have lost many important people. We have lost ministers. If they did not cling on government programs to do good service to the people, the population will throw you out.
Okay. Ndina abalabi ku Star TV tugendemu ko mu Luganda. Kiki olowooza kibayambye okukola obulungi leero okusinga bwe mwakola 2023 nga NRM?
Njozaayoza bannayuganda abali eyo.
All right, welcome back from that interview of being sold hell or heaven. That is Michael Jordan Lukomwa, who has been speaking with the Honorable Dombo from the NRM party. Now, at this point in time, definitely UBC UG goes to the polls, and it's that time I get to hand over to the newsroom, but we'll be right back with Honorable Mike Sebalu to speak more into the matters and events as they unwrap. And we'll definitely look forward to a conversation from the chief mobilizer, Honorable Seninde. She'll be speaking with us a little later on. And former EC chairperson, Badru Chigundu, will also be having a conversation with us. Looking forward to those conversations, but definitely so looking forward to what the newsroom has in summary, of course, with what's happened, but of course, most importantly, the updates coming through as to who has won, who has lost, and if the numbers have increased for the different parties in regards to parliamentary representation. It's UBC TV that you are watching. UG goes to the polls 2026, and definitely eager to serve you, definitely eager to give you all the information that you need as it comes through and indeed as you receive it. Thank you so much for being on as well. For those who are sending text messages to our text number, thank you so much for notifying us and allowing us to be your company in your living rooms, especially as you spend time home in this rather forced or long holiday, but one that has allowed you to relax on just your screen, getting back a bit to the analog, seeing as in Uganda it's quite dark with no internet whatsoever. It's a good afternoon, about 2 minutes after 1 p.m. And indeed, it's that time that I get to hand over to the newsroom. Good afternoon.
Indeed, indeed. It is a wonderful afternoon right here at Broadcast House on Nile Avenue. And thank you so much for taking us through the morning session.
All right.
And thank you so much for the updates. And indeed, we have a lot in store for you, Uganda. Today is the final day. I would say, should we call it Judgment Day? But today is the final day when Uganda will be announcing the head of state or new head of state for the next 5 years. I'm Lorraine Masika Kazimoto, and of course I will be joined with my colleague Edward Kijanangoma Rukidi. He will be joining me later on in just a few, actually. Now, we have a lot in store for you when it comes to the updates of the presidential polls that happened on Thursday. Thursday, the 15th of January, Uganda took to the polls to elect or to vote for their presidential, the new president from 2026 to 2031. And from what we're looking at from the EC, the latest updates from the Electoral Commission, President Yoweri Museveni has taken a commanding lead in the Thursday's presidential elections, well ahead of his main challenger, Robert Kyagulanyi of the National Unity Platform. Now, Museveni dominates with 71% of the votes as EC tallies 93% of the polling stations. Robert Kyagulanyi is in a distant second with 24.46% of the total results as so far released. Let's show you an update on that.
heads of delegations that are here, the representatives and agents of presidential candidates, representatives of political parties, heads of missions that are observing these elections, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, Lord Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, you're welcome, and I would like to take this opportunity to hand over to you to address the nation, which is waiting for the message of the Commission this evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and good evening, our distinguished guests who are here, and the fellow Ugandans who are watching us on the various TV channels. We are here once again to update you on the current status regarding the provisional results of the presidential elections that took place yesterday. Now, this session is the 5th we are making since yesterday in releasing the provisional results. Registered voters remain 21,649,067. The total number of polling stations, 50,739. Total number of
All right, that you saw on your screen. We do apologize. That was the EC chairman's update for yesterday, but we will be bringing you the EC chairman, Justice Simon Byabakama's update on the presidential race. We'll be bringing you that footage and that update throughout in this particular hour. I am finally joined by my colleague, Edward Kijanangoma Rukidi. Thank you so much for coming in this afternoon. And it indeed is, I should say, a bit tense. It's a mixture of tense and excitement at the same time. It is the final day, the day that all Ugandans have been waiting for. And
Lorraine. Good afternoon, viewers, and thank you, Lorraine. Indeed, it is, as you say, it is a day of mixed emotions.
Yes.
Some of the people who thought probably they would win have lost. Others who have won are actually celebrating. And so there's a lot that is going to be taking place in the course of the day, but also in the days coming ahead. But also we need to understand that, of course, the news that has been coming through from the National Tally Center in Lubowa, the results are there for everybody to see.
Yes.
And of course we shall be talking later on this program about some of the areas where things have actually changed, where the unexpected happened, but that will be in the course of the day. But for now, I'd like to actually talk about what is out there in the open. That is allegations that the National Unity Platform presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, has been arrested, and that his home has been, broken into. But the police has come out to actually say something about what these rumors are all about, and let's hear what the police has to say.
The comrade from AFP. I think the questions are similar. They rotate around his status. Mr. Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, as far as I'm informed, he's not under arrest. That is one statement I would like to make categorically clear. The deployment around his place, yes, it is visible.